In this podcast episode, Bill Gifford explores the transformative benefits of heat exposure, particularly through sauna use, and its remarkable impact on cardiovascular health, mental well-being, and longevity. Drawing on decades of Finnish research and personal experience, he discusses the biological mechanisms behind heat therapy, its evolutionary roots, and how it may reduce the risk of diseases such as Alzheimer's and heart disease. The conversation dives into practical applications, comparisons with cold exposure, and broader lifestyle principles for sustainable health. Bill begins by highlighting pivotal Finnish studies spanning over 2 decades that initially challenged the medical community's entrenched view of heat as purely dangerous. The groundbreaking work of cardiologist Jari Laukkanen revealed that frequent sauna use, 4 to 7 times weekly and for longer durations, was associated with a roughly 50% reduction in fatal heart attacks and all-cause mortality among middle-aged Finnish men. This extraordinary correlation shifted the discourse to recognize heat as potentially therapeutic rather than harmful. Importantly, these men came from a generally unhealthy cohort with prevalent cardiovascular challenges and lifestyle risk factors, suggesting heat therapy's powerful impact in high-risk populations. Despite no true control group due to near-universal sauna use in Finland, the frequency and duration of use showed striking dose-response benefits. Subsequent studies in Japan also supported these findings, with hot bath use correlating with similar cardiovascular gains. Initially skeptical due to the purely epidemiological nature of the Finnish data, Bill recounts how he and his co-authors debated including heat therapy as a core recommendation in their book Outlive. The inability to establish causation and the possibility of confounders required deeper investigation. His own N-of-1 experiment, acting on an assignment to explore sweat science, coincided with enduring a brutal winter in Salt Lake City, prompting him to regularly use a local gym sauna. The improved physical and mental state he experienced drove him to study more, uncovering additional data on heat's role in reducing depression and anxiety. Collaborations with mental health researchers surfaced clinical trials where infrared sauna exposure significantly alleviated severe depression symptoms, sometimes outperforming medication. Bill's first-hand experience with intense heat exposure and cold plunging during these studies further illustrated heat's powerful mind-body effects, including cognitive quieting and mood enhancement. The conversation dives into how heat acts like a form of light to moderate aerobic exercise. When exposed to high temperatures, heart rate elevates as blood flow increases to the skin to dissipate heat, a phenomenon that can raise heart rate to the equivalent of a light jog. This vasodilation also releases nitric oxide, improving endothelial function and reducing blood pressure. Wearable data shows that frequent sauna users demonstrate lower resting heart rates, an indicator of improved cardiovascular health, similar to the effects of exercise training. Heat exposure may also facilitate better sleep by triggering natural circadian temperature drops. This vascular and autonomic stimulation underpins why sauna use can mimic many benefits of cardio exercise. One of the more remarkable findings from the Finnish studies is a 63% lower risk of Alzheimer's disease among men with frequent sauna use. This reduction was replicated in an independent Finnish cohort of over 13,000 individuals from diverse economic backgrounds. While Alzheimer's etiology remains poorly understood, improved cerebral blood flow and vascular health due to heat-induced circulation enhancement likely play key roles. Since poor metabolic health and diabetes increase Alzheimer's risk, heat's mild, exercise-like effects on glucose regulation may offer indirect neuroprotection. The activation of cellular defense mechanisms during heat exposure, including heat shock proteins, additionally helps maintain neuronal integrity and clear cellular waste, both crucial in combating cognitive decline. Heat shock proteins, HSPs, emerged in the discussion as vital molecular guardians activated during heat stress. First identified when cells were accidentally overheated, these proteins stabilize other proteins, protect DNA from degradation, and facilitate the clearance of damaged molecules inside cells. Bill describes them as mommy proteins, caring for the cell's internal machinery. The sweet spot for HSP activation is around 1013 degree Fahrenheit core body temperature, achievable through sauna, hot baths, or prolonged heat exposure like summer exercise. These proteins contribute to broad cellular resilience, including neuroprotection relevant for Alzheimer's prevention and potentially reducing psychotic episodes. Bill clarifies that the specific method of heat exposure is less important than the physiological effect, raising core temperature and activating the heat-related benefits. Traditional Finnish saunas, infrared saunas, and hot baths all offer effective routes depending on individual preferences and tolerances. Infrared saunas, often lower in temperature but penetrative, can elevate core temperature faster and potentially allow longer sessions. Hot baths offer another accessible, affordable option shown by research to improve vascular function similarly. The emphasis is on choosing a modality consistent with one's lifestyle rather than chasing arbitrary temperature and duration targets. The episode highlights humans' unique evolutionary relationship with heat. Unlike most mammals, humans evolved abundant eccrine sweat glands spread over the body to efficiently cool off during heat exposure, especially under midday sun. This adaptation allowed early humans to engage in persistence hunting, outlasting faster prey by regulating body temperature via sweating, thus securing their place atop the food chain. Evolutionarily, heat exposure and sweating were integral to human survival, performance, and social life. Modern conveniences, like air conditioning, have dramatically reduced daily heat exposure, potentially depriving us of these adaptive benefits that helped shape human physiology over hundreds of thousands of years. The wellness claim that sweating in saunas detoxifies the body is addressed critically. Scientifically, the skin is not a primary detox organ. Rather, the liver and kidneys fulfill that role. While minimal toxin excretion via sweat occurs, it is not a potent or preferential elimination route. Still, sauna use provides some indirect benefits, such as enhanced circulation that may help flush bodily waste and skin cleansing that improves the skin's health and appearance. There is also cautionary advice from studies on firefighters exposed to hazardous substances that sauna use without proper hygiene might increase toxic absorption through the skin rather than reduce it. Thus, the detox narrative should be tempered while appreciating sauna's other proven health benefits. Bill contrasts heat therapy with the rising trend of cold exposure practices like cold plunges and cryotherapy. He acknowledges cold's mood-lifting and shock response benefits, but cautions that it is physiologically more stressful and carries greater health risks, especially for older adults, bearing in mind that cold-related deaths outnumber heat-related ones. Cold tends to blunt muscle protein synthesis, potentially hindering muscle growth, and the scientific evidence for cold's broad health benefits is weaker than for heat. He advocates for using cold therapy as a complement to heat, mainly for cooling down and mental refreshment rather than as a standalone health intervention. Sauna remains easier to sustain consistently than cold exposure. Bill shares practical advice for those interested in incorporating heat into their routines. Emphasizing safety and gradual acclimation, he recommends starting with shorter sessions at moderate temperatures and advancing at one's own pace. Hydration and salt intake are crucial to replacing electrolyte losses during sweating. He also highlights the social and mental wellness aspects of sauna experiences, such as digital detoxification, relaxation, and community bonding, which enhance overall well-being. Personal preferences should guide modality choice, whether traditional sauna, infrared, or hot bath, and scheduling, often later in the day to aid sleep, should align with lifestyle and comfort. Heat therapy works best when combined with exercise, sleep, stress management, and diet, forming part of a compounding approach to health. Interwoven in the conversation is Bill's broader health philosophy to keep health practices simple, affordable, and personalized. He cautions against falling prey to guru-driven extremes, expensive gadgets, and rigid protocols. The basics: cardiorespiratory fitness, muscle strength, good nutrition, sleep, stress management, and social connections are ultimately the strongest determinants of health span and longevity. Testing and proactive health monitoring, such as advanced lipid panels, colonoscopies, and bone density scans, are valuable tools to catch problems early. Personal habits should be sustainable and enjoyable, tailored to individual circumstances, rather than chasing perfection. This balanced perspective includes but does not depend solely on heat exposure as a central wellness pillar.